We could hear gunshots throughout the night. There were other Jews who had come to hide in the underbrush as well.
I am in prison now. It's November of 1937, and I am in prison because the Nazis believe that everything that is different is wrong.
We've been ordered to climb into the trenches that we dug, and we've been sitting here just waiting for days. I fear for my life, I fear for the life of my child, and I fear for my mother, my brothers, and my husband.
This is the 10th grade honors literature class at CAPA, the Pittsburgh High School for the Creative and Performing Arts. The course covers the history of the Holocaust through literature.
We are going to begin with your presentations. I kept the outline on the board so that you could in fact refer to it.
It is taught by Melissa Pearlman, who wants students to get a better understanding of history through personal journals.
In January, when the course started, I got together with the world cultures teacher and talked about the reality of teaching literature at the same time that he would be covering the historical perspective of Eastern Europe during 1938 to 45. And we thought it would be an amazing project to work through the literature, get the historical perspective in world cultures, and then some of the students traveled to Washington to the Holocaust Museum.
They started by reading Night by Elie Wiesel. It's Wiesel's horrifying account as a young Jewish boy in the camps.
Remember that you need not feel as though you have to be forced by saying, my person's name is, she was born on, she lived in. You want to just make sure that in narrating your person's story, you communicate with us the most important information that you've carried with you from that person.
Each student is assigned to research one individual Holocaust victim. Students teach the rest of the class what it must have been like for the person they studied.
My person was Robert T. Oudman. He was actually born Martin Hoyer, but Robert T. was his performance name. He was a professional actor and performer.
They give a brief bio.
He was arrested for homosexuality, and he was put in prison for 27 months.
They write a journal entry.
The next morning, a Ukrainian guard spotted us in the water. I see you there, Jews. Come out.
And then recreate their impressions through poetry or art.
And this is my drawing. In the middle is the Nazi sign, and the fire around it represents all the Jews that were burned.
Once you hear a survivor's story, you really get a chance to get an inside view of who the person is and what it was like going through that time. Without hearing an actual survivor story, I don't think you actually have a clue on what's going on. You hear about the Holocaust, you know it was horrible and people were, not getting food and everything like that. But once you hear someone's first-hand story, you start to understand really how bad it was, and they tell you the details, and you really get amazed.
I knew about the Holocaust before, but I did not know about how hard it was for the Jewish people in the internment camps and the ghettos. All I knew really was about the Nazis and what they did.
I think this class took the Holocaust deeper. Before it was just okay, this was really bad, this thing happened sometime in history. But this sort of gave us a perspective and made us see the people behind it. It wasn't just the event. It was who was involved and who was affected by this. And as a result, I think it's changed me.
I really teach the Holocaust from the perspective of tolerance, and as an extreme example of what can happen when people who are different are not respected. Our survival was how many years in the forest, Alex? And we do a great deal about really understanding what it means to be tolerant, especially here at CAPA, where students come from all over the city, all different communities and backgrounds and disciplines.
The Nazis are now forcing us out of the ghetto. We are to be deported tomorrow. I've already seen some people leaving. They round them up in cattle cars and cram them into them. Tons of people in one cart, way overcrowded.
To further enhance the teaching experience for her students and to enrich her personal knowledge, Pearlman is in Poland, participating with other local teachers and Holocaust survivors in the March of the Living. The silent march from the Auschwitz concentration camp to the Birkenau death camp commemorates the 60th anniversary of the liberation of the Nazi concentration camps.
I don't have much knowledge about how I will be affected upon walking through places that we've only looked at images of and only talked about Auschwitz and Birkenau, and to think that my footsteps will take me into a whole nother realm. I don't think I'll ever teach the Holocaust in the same fashion. I don't think that I will understand experiences the same way until I return.
Melissa Pearlman and the other local teachers who are traveling to Auschwitz for the March of the Living say their Holocaust curriculum in their individual schools, whether public or private here in the Pittsburgh area, will be even more critical in future years because so many of the Holocaust survivors are either up in years or no longer with us.
The person that did was Melissa Pearlman.
And these students now know just how important this history is.
I'm excited because she gets to see everything and she gets to relay it back to us, and it's like we're living the experience but through her, and the fact that we can see and communicate with other students from in a different country, and I think that's just awesome.
Once you see something like that, you sort of just get a better feel for things, and maybe she can explain, some of the things that, what it looked like, and what, I'm sure they have some, some articles and stuff there that you could, that she could explain to us, talk to us about. I'm sure, yeah, I would really be excited for her to come back and talk about it.
You made a conscious decision to talk about America in that piece?
I think a lot of them were thinking about America like they would love to be there, like so free, everything's so free there.
Pearlman believes studying the Holocaust through literature is no ordinary high school experience, and these students will not only become better people by doing it, but they'll understand one of history's darkest hours can never be repeated.
This experience, this time period in our history, I hope is now a part of them, that to understand hate and mass destruction and evil should then in turn lead them to want to do good and want to remember what can happen when people take for granted civility and inhumane acts persevere. And I hope that they take the antithesis of that and apply it to their actions outside of school, outside of class, in everyday life.